Alright, now it's time to learn how to draw the grass. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about how to actually just draw the ground without really drawing blades of grass. And especially it's handy especially when you're drawing around trees. Sometimes you don't want to draw blades of grass, you just want to convey the message, you know, that there is ground here, the tree is growing in the ground. And then we'll show you some techniques how to draw some, you know, just some regular short grass and then maybe some longer grass. And it's really simple. What I'm going to do here first of all is I'm going to actually just draw it like a small tree trunk, just to represent like a tree trunk here. And maybe give it a half a branch here just so you can see that this was going to intend to be a tree. We'll get into drawing trees a little bit later on. Let me just give this a little bit of shade, that way you can see it a lot better. Not really wanting this to be a perfect tree trunk or anything, just want to show you the techniques of the grass and the ground. One thing you can do is anytime you're drawing a tree, and we'll get into drawing trees like I said a little bit later in another module, but what you want to do when you're drawing a tree or the grass or the ground around the tree, let's first start with the ground. What you want to do, the ground is really simple, it's just a shading technique. If you go straight across, just, you know, straight across right there at the trunk of the tree, then that's where you will get like actual just straight ground. And you know, it's just like your tree is actually sitting just on a straight land, straight surface. But if you really want to get a little more creative with it and you want to look like your tree is actually sitting on a small hill or a little bit of, not a big hill, just a small hill maybe, and then you can just kind of curve that shading around. I actually have drawn the straight line a little darker so it might kind of clash a little bit, but if you actually just wanted to draw it like it's sitting on the hill, then all you got to do is just kind of just curve your shading a little bit. So it really depends on, you know, however you really want to draw it. If you want to draw it, you know, sitting on the hill, you want to draw it just on the straight surface of the ground. You know, it's just really however you want to do it, however you want to get creative with it. Or you can just mix it up and just make your ground just different patterns. But the main thing is just to convey the message that you're actually drawing the ground here. And just do like a half circle. You could do like a half circle if you're just actually wanting to draw the ground. And you can just kind of shade it a little bit, making like a little hill just like this. Just kind of just narrow, round out your ground just a little bit. And then that's just one way to make it look like it's actually sitting on top of a hill like that. Now when you get into drawing the blades of grass, it's not really a complicated process. Some people, when they're going to be drawing a lot of grass, you know, just regular grass that you see in your lawn, on your lawn every day, some people rather do this shading right here to cover up white space on the paper. See how if you take and go where the root of the grass is going to be, as grass grows, it actually gets a little thinner as it goes up. So that's why you want to have a sharp pencil. Then you can just do little short strokes like this. Start from the root, from the ground, and then you kind of thin out as you go up. And you want to go in different directions when you're drawing grass. By going in different directions, it gives it a natural look to it, the way grass actually grows. And then, you know, shorter strokes for short grass. If you want longer grass, just do longer strokes. It's really a simple process. And you'll see here, as I draw a little bit of grass here on top of this shaded area, you don't have to worry about any white space if you do shade first and then draw your grass, because it's all covered up with the shaded area. But if you don't want to do the shading part, you really don't have to, because all you do is just start drawing your grass. And then as you draw the grass, you actually fill in the white space on the paper anyway. Now, one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get your grass all the same shade, you know, too light. You want to mix it up. You want a little bit of a light shade, you want a little bit of a dark shade. Like right here, see how I've actually covered up the white space on the paper here. Then you can just kind of go in and mix it up a little bit and put a little bit of a dark areas of grass mix in with it. That way you just don't have a dull blend of marks, pencil marks on your paper. But you can actually fill in the paper without shading the ground first if you want to. Some people prefer to shade the ground first, and I do it a little bit of both. I do a little bit of mixture of both, so however you want to do it, just practice with it. And if you want to draw just a patch of grass on a hill, same way when we were shading the little hill for the ground, you just kind of curve it around. You just kind of curve your drawing a little bit. And you could actually do it in a circle if you were wanting to draw like a little area for like a little pond or little water area. If you're going to draw it like that, when you get around to the sides, you just kind of want to bend it just a little bit. That way it looks like you are going in a circle. And then when you get around toward the front of it, then what you do is just start drawing the grass straight up again. Because grass grows every different directions. It doesn't all grow in the same direction. And you want it to go in different directions to make it look more natural when you're drawing the grass. You could do all sorts of things with grass. You can, you know, actually make it thinner, or you can make it thicker. And the way to make it thicker, if you wanted to, you can just keep shading over the same blade of grass that you started out drawing, and then you can just make it come out to a point, especially if you're going to draw plants and things like that. Just keep shading over it and drawing however you want to draw it. Make a little cat o' nine tail here, a little simulation. Just shade in a good oval, draw your stem. I like drawing water, weeds and tall grass and things like that. All kind of little plants. You can simulate little plants and things growing. But it's really a simple process. It's not really hard, it's not really complicated. If you're going to draw a whole area of grass, so let me draw a little plane here. What you would do is, if you don't want to shade first, you could shade first to cover up the white space. But if you don't want to shade first, And when you just start drawing rows of grass, you can draw one row just like this, and to cover the rest of the area, when you're in front of your first row of grass, then what you can actually do is just start down below it just a little bit and then just kind of overlap it. Still draw the grass going in different directions. And then when you get in the front, you just basically do the same. You can actually touch the tip of the first row of grass that you've drawn. And then you just kind of keep going, you know, throughout the area that you want to cover. If you're wanting to do a whole field, one complete lawn, if you're drawing the front of your house or something. And let me show you one more technique. I have here a really thin eraser. Here's a way you can put highlights in your grass. Just take you an eraser and just kind of erase a few lines. See how this is actually putting some highlights into the grass. You can really highlight anything that you want to highlight, and it just gives it a lot more character when you do this. I recommend using the eraser because it is a good drawing tool, and you could just add a lot of highlights. See how that added a lot of highlights within this grass, this little plant here. And you can just do the same with your regular grass. And it's always good to add a few highlights, especially if you're wanting to simulate a light area, maybe with the sun shining. It's just a good technique. So it's a real simple process and a real simple technique. Practice drawing your grass. Make the short strokes for short grass and the longer strokes for longer grass. Just remember to always just start at the root of your ground, and as the grass grows up, it just thins out. It's just a little simple process. You may want to practice doing this to get the thickness from the root to the thinness at the top. All you got to do is relieve your pressure. Start out with a little bit of pressure for the root, and then as you draw up, just kind of relieve the pressure just a little bit. But it's a real simple process, and practice taking an eraser and drawing in some highlights on your grass, and practice shading. You can go back to the shading lesson if you need to learn more about how to shade. But basically all you're doing is just doing a regular shade. Do a light shade. Always remember to just start out light when you're shading, and this right here gives you the ground that you need without the grass. And then you can put the grass, you know, on top of it as you start to draw. Well, that's it for this lesson here, and we've got a lot more lessons to go. So if you need to refer back to the shading lesson, you can always do it. That's the great part about purchasing this program here, is you always have the videos to go back to, and you can keep learning and go back to view more videos for reference as you need to. Let's move on to the next module.